I teach at a private school, private schools throughout the Bay Area, and I'm also a homeschooling dad, 3 kids, 6 and under. And I'm a walking contradiction because I believe in the power of education, but I don't believe in the way we're doing it now. So though I'm choosing to be part of the education process and teach, which is something I was born to do and need to do and have to do, I feel very strongly that we're not doing it right. And one way that I am choosing to live my life and parent is to homeschool my kids. And we're still in the beginning of the process. It's still 6 and under. But where I seem to be able to help and where I want to help is in the field of mathematics. I am a mathematics teacher, and I think most of what we teach in the mathematics classroom is useless, especially, especially high school on, especially algebra up. I think it's useless. So because we don't use it in life, and I know I'm going to get a lot of boos for that out there, outside of the homeschooling community, but I think it's useless. We don't need it. If you look to your life as to what kind of mathematics you actually use and need, you don't need it. So the question is, why are we still teaching it? We're still teaching it because in life we need the kind of reasoning that we develop through the teaching of mathematics. So mathematics is just a medium to develop the logical thinking, the analytical thinking, the inductive reasoning, the deductive reasoning. So I asked myself over the years, why am I teaching this? For this thinking, so can we do it better? Can we do it differently? So the answer I came up with was to incorporate games, specifically strategy games, I call them brain games, and or one-person thinking puzzles. I mean, for decades in different countries they've been using chess and remarking about how wonderfully those countries do in mathematics. You go, I wonder if there's a connection there. Well, yeah, there's a connection. I don't like to use chess specifically because there's a learning curve associated to it. I like games that have no chance, no cards, no dice, and it's all based on abstract strategy, pure strategy. Everything you need to know is right in front of you. And I love to bring a new game to a classroom or to students or to just an individual person because they probably haven't seen it before and they're starting with a raw energy, a raw thinking, and you can just watch them go. You start them with the tic-tac-toe board and you say, okay, let's play tic-tac-toe, and they go like this, like, what do I want to play tic-tac-toe for? I already know how to win or tie, as long as I go first and as long as I get to go here. But then you say, well, what if you play tic-tac-toe, but this time if you get 3 in a row, you lose? And then they stop. And then they start thinking again. And then it's a whole different game. It's a whole different game. There are a myriads of games. There's a ton of games out there that you can play, some that you can reproduce at home for little to no cost, others that you spend a few dollars for that are rich, complex. You'll come back to them time after time after time after time, that have that deep, complex, rich thinking that will develop that logical, analytical part of you that math is trying to do. Decades ago, you saw these old footages in a workout room of people with these big leather medicine balls, tossing and doing deep knee bends and jumping jacks and things like that with that thing around your tummy that shakes you from side to side. We know now that that's may help over the long run, but it's certainly not what is actually needed, or what the point is to develop those muscles. And so we've found that there are various machines to isolate those instead of using the medicine balls anymore, or jumping jacks, or deep knee bends, which are terrible for you. Ask my knees, they're awful. So the question is, can we do it in a better way? Well, yeah, they have those isolated machines that work on specific muscles. I'm trying to get these games to develop that particular muscle in your brain so that you can be highly developed analytically, so that you can face any complex problem that's out there in the world, wherever it might be, whatever it might be for you, so that you can be a fully functioning member of the 21st century. And whether or not you know how to solve simultaneous equations or do trigonometric substitution in calculus is completely irrelevant. So inherent in these games is competition. And that's something I try to de-emphasize in the classroom, or I try to de-emphasize at home. It's something that naturally comes up. Sibling rivalry is just inherent. It comes up. So how do you handle it? Well, the overall arching way I like to talk about it through parents and through other kids is to emphasize the good move that was played, and to go back in time, take moves back, or to say, oh, do you see that if I put this here, I'm going to win. But I tell you what, instead of my placing that there, let's take your last move back, and let's see if we can find a better place for it together, so that we can emphasize the good move or the good play or the good thinking, and talk about the thinking part. that's the key, is to talk about it, or if you want to be even bolder, to write about it somehow, either to write down why this move was better than that move, or to talk about it. If we instill a competition in our kids, they will take that to being adults. And inherent in competition is one person's going to win and one person's going to lose. And though that might give you an edge in the business world, the cutthroat business world, this world is becoming a much smaller world, where we've found that by working together we can accomplish much more than if divided, that we do us versus them. So start at the home, start small, start in school by de-emphasizing competition and emphasizing rather the intellectual part of the pursuit of the game. And that's what I try to do in schools, and I try to do in home too.
We were going to do a stream walk. We were about 1.5 miles up this creek, and we were going to walk down the creek 1.5 miles to where it came into the ocean. It's a beautiful little creek, and I've walked it lots of times. It's a really fun walk for kids. There's tons of stuff to see and do. And if nothing else, it's a great way just to get some exercise out in nature, you know. So we get into this creek, and there happened to be Pacific tree frogs everywhere. They were just hopping in masses around us. And I'm watching the kids, and they're having a lot of fun. They're dashing into the water, grabbing frogs. And I noticed that this little boy had sort of faded off into the side of the creek bank. And he was just standing there by himself. And one of my counselors walked over to him, and she knelt down beside him and said, "Hey, what you got in your hand?" He says, "I've got a frog in my hand." And she says, "Oh, that's really cool." And she pulls her notepad out of her pocket and her pen and says, "Hey, I'd like to draw a sketch of him, because I want to get, when we get back to the van, I want to look him up in the field guide. And I'm wondering if you could tell me how many toes he has on his back feet." Just like you can see, the mental file card started to go. He's like, "Wait, does he have back feet?" You know, and then to realize that he had toes, and you see he got all squinty-eyed, and he's looking, and well, I don't know. I think he's got 3. And she says, "Well, I really, really check close, because I really want to make sure that my sketch is accurate, you know." So she goes through this whole process of discovery of finding the frogs have 5 toes in the front, 4 back, 4 toes in the front, and just where the eye stripe was, and where does it meet? Does it meet right in the nose, or is it above the nose, or below the nose? And does he have any other spots or markings? She makes this whole little sketch. and then it's okay, thanks. And then towards the end of our program, we only got about 100 yards down the creek because of the frogs. Anyway, so we headed back up to the van, and we threw our blanket out on the ground. We brought all our field guides out. Sometimes we catch the kids, sometimes we don't. We're not attached to that. But what I'm attached to is catching the kids' curiosity. So she picks up this field guide and has the little boy there, says, "Hey, can you look through this field guide with me, because I'd like to find that frog." So she flips through. "Is that the frog?" He says, "No, that's not it." "That one?" "No, that's not it." She says, "Was it that one?" "No, that's not it." "That one?" "Yeah, that's the one. That's the frog." And she says, "Okay, cool." And so she takes the book, and she quarters away from him a little bit, and she starts reading through the field guide. And she finishes reading the field guide. She closes it and throws it back on the blanket. And he's looking at her and looking at the field guide and looking at her and looking at the field guide. And he says, "What did it say?" And she said, "Well, it just, nothing really." No, what did it say?" "Well, if you ever want to find another frog like that, it kind of tells you where they live and, where their habitat's at and, those kinds of things." I get a call from his mom a week later. She says, "I want to talk to you right now." Now, I'm usually a little nervous when I get a parent that says that to me. So okay, come on in. So she comes in and sits down. She goes, "What did you do to my son?" And I said, "Well, did we forget to put sunscreen on him? He didn't drink enough water one day. He rolled through poison oak. I don't know. What did I do?" She goes, "He spontaneously decided he wants to learn how to read. And he's starting to learn how to read in field guides, in Peterson's field guides and Audubon field guides. That's his first reading material."